Morning. Welcome, everyone. It's been a little while since I've done one of these. CPPCon finished up in September, and we're getting ready for CPP Online. And I'm here with Andreas Fertig. Did I get the hard G right?
Yeah, you did. Better than me, probably.
Close enough, I guess.
Yes, thank you.
And so we both get the pleasure of presenting at CPP Online this year, which I'm really excited about. But Andreas is actually doing a workshop on coroutines, which coroutines, tell me some of the magic, because I've seen there have been so many talks, which I believe you're even giving one this time, but there have been so many talks on coroutines. The best, one of the better ones that I've seen was from Hannah, which wasn't necessarily a coroutine talk. She was actually talking about how she was using coroutine to wrap curl, which, I use curl. And so that was an interesting way to see it. But how do you approach trying to train coroutines when you've got one day?
Yeah, first of all, welcome and thanks for doing that, Kevin. Very glad to be back. It's a tough question and it's a tough topic. So interestingly, coroutines are only new to C++, but not to the programming world. So other languages have them for a while now. And from what I know, I would say C++ has the most flexible ones, and by that, the most powerful ones. You can tune them to, I would say, every scenario. You need them to be efficient. But as you might know, with things like that, complexity gets in. So in C++, we have to write a lot of boilerplate code to get things started. If you compare it to Python, in Python, I think you can very quickly spawn a coroutine, create one as a beginner. In C++, with C++ 23, it might get easier because there you have std generator. But in C++ 20, and if std generator is not enough, you have to write a lot of this boilerplate code that Hannah showed as well, where you configure your promise type and the wrapper type and all these things. So the goal for this one day is to teach people what are the components. So we have this promise type, we have this wrapper type. What can you configure there, and what does it mean for your coroutine? We will also look at the easy way. So simply use C++ 20's generator if people already are able to use C++ 23. But it will mainly focus on broadening the things that I also give a talk about. So we have exercises to that, where we have more time to talk about it. And we will talk about more details and in certain scenarios, like what does it mean if you change, for example, the final suspend return type from suspend always, which we often use, to suspend never for your cleanup. So I will also show a couple of things that hopefully ease coroutines. I think we missed something like a unique coroutine handle, like a unique pointer, because a lot of code I'm seeing follows the same pattern. We have to care about this coroutine handle, we have to clean it up, and this is usually what in other dynamic memory parts we do with a unique pointer. It automatically clears up or cleans up. And so there will be a couple of things that I haven't shown in talks before, and it will be focused on really get you started with exercises and then trying out what does it mean.
Well, so we say it's a day workshop. How many hours is the workshop? Is it like a full 8 with a break in between, or how do you know how you're running your format?
That's a very good question, which I do not have an answer to. So I know my format, but I think the workshop times were provided by CPP Online, right? So the starting times and so forth. So usually it's roughly 6 hours class day and added breaks to it. So it sums up to 8 hours. But this time it might be different. I have to to check the exact specs for CPP Online. I haven't done that yet.
And of course, that's really on me. Like, I guess I probably should have just looked that up before I asked the question.
Maybe
But the
me
6
too.
hours, the 6 hours though, it's interesting because I know that in some of the other online classes that, 6 hours of training and code. I mean, if you think of how we come out of some of the conference talks, it's like the dump that you get in an hour. So yeah, I mean, either way, it's going to be a good full day. I'm excited about the fact of your class because that's where I'm like, even the coroutines, Phil Nash has done a couple of his where he does two-parters, and he's able to cover a lot more. But the part you're saying with the amount of boilerplate, I want to say when I was listening to your talk with NCD Tech Town, I think you were talking about, and I hope I got those the letters there right. But I thought I heard you talking about that you do a bit of templating to help remove boilerplate. Do you find that that's reusable? I mean, am I saying that right? Because I have to say, like, I'm not a coroutine. I haven't had the chance to use them myself yet. I liked Hannah's curl stuff because we use curl, but even that I haven't had a chance to implement. But yeah, templating, can that help take care of a lot of the boilerplate?
It certainly does. For all the talks and for some part of the workshop, I will take templates out simply because they tend to obfuscate the thing we are talking about at the moment.
Right.
So this is why I usually strip them out. And after that, it's a question, which flexibility of coroutines do you really need? So Hannah's talk is a great example. For once, what coroutines can do to your code, how they can help you to improve here, to get this concurrency working that you otherwise have to program in a different approach, and that causes more trouble. And the other thing is that once you know a little bit more what you're trying to achieve with your coroutine or with your sets, this templating gets easier because then you have a coroutine that's, for example, reusable for different data types, but does the same thing. There are projects out there like CPP Coro, which provide you with a very good abstraction for a lot of the things that we usually reach for. But one thing that is, I think, sometimes overlooked with coroutines is coroutines are just one part. The other part that you need is some kind of scheduling mechanism. So you do not win anything if you pause a coroutine and never resume it. So you need one controlling instance which says, okay, I resume that one or that one or that one. This was something that was in Hannah's talk for curl.
Right.
And she had this great async await where she could await for different downloads coming in, and only if all of them arrived, you continue. So this is the scheduler, and this is another component that you usually need, however complex or not complex the scheduler is. And if you use frameworks, then you have to adapt their scheduler. We do that if we use a GUI framework, so Qt or something like that. They come with a main loop, and then we adjust to that one.
Right.
And for coroutines, the question is, how do you want to fit them into the rest of your world? And then can you live with something like CPP Coro, which has, I don't know it deeply, but roughly has one scheduler, and use that one? Or do you need more specialized things where you have dozens of schedulers because you have one for that task and one for that? So this is the other component that I think once you figure that out, what you need for your own code base for your own needs, then things get easier. And then you can say, okay, I use CPP Coro, I use the curl implementation of Hannah, or I hand roll my own thing and squeeze templates in.
Gotcha. So one other question on the class, because when I think about, because again, you're going to give a talk on coroutines at CPP Online too. So if someone doesn't have the opportunity to take your class, which would be very unfortunate, I mean, because in my mind, it's like the videos are great and go see the talk if you aren't able to take the class. But, to be able to get that detailed time with you to help understand and ask questions, which you really get in the workshop, I think is important. But to that end too, do you end up using different examples when you're, because I know you're doing theory when you're doing your workshop, but do you also have different examples that are more, I'll use the word fulfilling than hello worlds, which is what we generally have to use inside of a talk because we have limited space, limited time, limited slide. What are the examples like that you use in a workshop by comparison? Do you do different stuff?
That's a good question. It flips. So when I started, I had different examples in my workshop than in my talk. The talk version was more simplified. And at some point, because I gave the talk a lot more at this point than classes, I realized that the examples in the talk are more helpful even for the workshop attendees because they are simplified. And at some point, we are at the beginning, I would say, people seem to need simplified things to see through that entire feature and understand it better. So the talk still has the, I would say, simplest version I could come up with for coroutines. I reuse some of that in the workshop, but there we will also go into templates and look more how we apply to, for example, parsers and things like that, and special cases. So it's a mixture. You also have more opportunity to ask questions during a class. So that my talks are usually, I try to stay into the time limit.
Right.
And what always breaks that limit are questions, because are there none?
Yes.
Are there many? So usually my talks, I'm happy with questions, but often after the talk. And this is something that is different in the class than where you can directly, when you have a question, raise that and get it answered. And this is why in classes then I can go to the more complex examples, because then I see that people don't understand it, so we can talk about it. And in the talk, if I lose everybody, it's nice that I was there an hour, but not worth it. So it's a sharing, so that the workshop profits a little from the talk, and then the talk a little from the workshop, because then I understand what people think or may need.
So for anyone wanting to learn coroutines, I've been glancing to the side because I did look this up. March 4th, 9 a.m. to 1700. So like we were saying, 6 hours of coding and hard training and a couple hours in there for breaks, because doing coroutines, I think I would need it.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to take Andreas's workshop, by all means, head over to cpp.online.uk and sign up. And otherwise, if you haven't already signed up to come to the conference, you definitely want to get that done. I'm looking forward to presenting again, and I know I'm looking forward to hearing your talk as well. You have any changes to it from your last version?
Yes, I made slight improvements. I mean, thankfully, I always get feedback, so I update things. It might be minor this time, but it's slightly different, adjusted. So sometimes compiler catch up, or I have a few changes there.
It's funny because I've started, last year was my first year that I had the opportunity to, I'll say, replay a talk, because I gave it in CPP, Core C++, and then it's CPP on C, and I loved it, because it's that, just like you're saying, and you do this as training. So you've been doing this for years as a trainer, so you already know, but you get that chance to just kind of iterate, take the feedback, improve a few things. And so I'm with you. I'm looking forward to being able to do version 2.
Yeah, it's amazing, because it also makes me happy then if I see, this time people got it more or got it easier, yes. Or I see the light up in the eye. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time this morning, Andreas, and I will see you at CPP Online.
Thanks for doing that. And I'm looking forward to your talk as well. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.